Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. My name is Tomoko Rosas, and I'm a practitioner here at the center. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of life. So before we get started, I have a few announcements. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend. We're voting for our slogan today. So no more entries. The cutoff was last Sunday or Friday. And be sure to get a ballot sheet, one of these. If you don't have one, please be sure to get one. And you could check off up to 3 of your favorite slogans. And they're all listed here. And we'll tally them up and we'll be announcing. The first announcement will go out on the Wednesday weekly email. And if you're not on that email, please let me know so that I could get your email address. And next Sunday, we will be officially announcing our winning slogan. Our annual membership meeting and potluck is next Sunday. And those of you who are voting members, we are counting on you to attend that meeting. But the potluck is for everyone. So everyone welcome for the potluck. And if you're not sure about your status, please go see Sally today. Wednesday's spiritual growth support group is back in session, as you all know, and it is at 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. and that one is open to everyone, and all spiritual questions are welcome. Mark your calendar. Spiritual Mind Treatment Workshop with Reverend Bill is scheduled for the first Sunday of February. That's the 2nd. And that's our first workshop of the year, so let's make this a great one, and then let's get everybody up to date with the techniques for spiritual mind treatment. As you all know, that is our scientific or affirmative prayer. And that is open to everyone, and it's going to be after service. Unexpected Income Club is doing great, and we are already inching up, as you can see. And we'll set our goal for 2025 next Sunday at the membership meeting. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop there, and I'm gonna pass it on to Tommy.
I need to be still, let God love me. Be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still, let God love me.
Join me in prayer. There is a universal mind, spirit, intelligence that is the origin of everything. We call it God, universe, or simply energy. This energy is in everything. We live and move and have our being in God. We are the expression of spirit on this plane of existence. This service is perfect. I want to thank the people that have given of their time for this service to be possible. And now let us open our hearts and minds to receive today's message given by our beloved Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury. And so it is. My name is Eva Castelo. I'm a practitioner of this Center for Spiritual Living, Fullerton. My reading today is from this book. It's called Live Your Best Spiritual Life, Be the Miracle You Were Born to Be. And it's by our own Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury. The reading comes from chapter Navigating the River of Life. Let's get into it. We should be aggressive in our spirituality, not apathetic. I know what you're thinking. So we have a little apathy going, who cares? Here's who cares. You care. Take a moment right now, and then at intervals during the day and the week to think about a time you experienced pure joy or happiness or beauty. Wouldn't you like to experience that feeling all the time? You can. You just need to choose that feeling over all others and insist upon it. Remember Ernest Holmes' statement, there is a power for good in the universe, greater than you are, and you can use it. And it is a power for good. What else could it be? If it were not a power for good, it would have self-destructed millennia ago. Now, that power can be misunderstood or not acknowledged at all. And the misunderstanding or misuse of it can obscure the light that it is. We as humans have volition. We have free will. We have the choice to use the power of spirit for good or not. But the power is for good before we intervene. The light and love that is the one true power is what we know. Also, as a Christ consciousness, this is the consciousness proven by the great way shower Jesus some 2,000 years ago, and in lesser degrees by many before him. It has never changed. The Christ consciousness is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It is a power that heals. It is a power that sees beyond the conditions of this world, many of which are self-caused, and see only the truth of the perfection of who we are. We are whole, complete, perfect, divine beings, and the more we focus upon that truth of our being, the more it outpictures in our world. Jesus, as great as he was, never healed anyone who did not want to be healed. And he never healed anyone who did not have faith in the possibility of the healing taking place. It is faith that allows the truth of our being to be expressed. How do we get this faith? We get it by devotion. We get it by being devoted to the truth of our divinity, and by refusing to acquiesce to anything less than the truth. Now join me in prayer. This prayer I made thinking about our Aiden practitioner, who is no longer here physically, but is in spirit. So in the words of Meister Eckhart, if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. Thank you.
I see joy, I see peace, I see beauty surrounding me. I see love in every breath I breathe. I see God in everything. I see happiness, I see freedom. I see beauty that lives in me. I see perfection in what life brings. I see God in everything. I feel joy, I feel peace, I feel beauty surrounding me. I feel love in every breath I breathe. I feel God in everything. I feel happiness, I feel freedom. I feel beauty that lives in me. I feel perfection in what life brings. I feel God in everything. I choose joy, I choose peace, I choose beauty surrounding me. I choose love in every breath I breathe. I choose God in everything. I choose happiness, I choose freedom. I choose beauty that lives in me. I choose perfection in what life brings. I choose God in everything. I choose God in everything. I choose God in everything.
Great song. Puts us right there, right where we want to be. Speaking of right where we want to be, earlier I was just over there looking at the used book section, and the name Paul Ferrini caught my mind because I really like him. But this is a book of poems from Crossing the Water, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seemed apropos. I opened it to this page, right smack in the middle of one of his short poems, and this is what it said. After the shock of destruction, there is renewed hope and rebuilding. The gift has come in the guise of a disaster, and in its aftermath, we have richer soil to plant in. So for all those who have been affected by the fires raging throughout Southern California, there it is. And you know, if you were here for Bev's meditation, brought to us by the sisters in Honduras, it was about hope. Sometimes, you know, sometimes hope, the word hope, gets kind of a bum rap. Because we generally think when we hope for something that we're wishing for some fantastic thing that could probably never happen, but we'll hope for it anyway. But the fact is, as the poem of the sisters showed us, hope is really, in our philosophy, it's tied to faith. Because hope is kind of planting that thought and having the faith in being able to plant a thought and make it produce something, make it demonstrate, make it become real, a solid thing in our world is what we're all about. So, yeah, is it okay to hope? Well, I hope so. And I have the faith that when I hope and when I do it affirmatively and when I tie it in with that knowing my place in the cosmos and knowing that I am a divine being, that I am put here on purpose and provided with everything I am going to ever need to fulfill that purpose, that it's going to be all right. So the title of today's talk is How It Works. Because right now we're going over, we're in the second issue of the 4 Ernest Holmes sections about the thing itself, how it works, what it does, and how to use it. So we're going back to the basics, the fundamentals, because that's where the power lies. We can have all the grandiose philosophies and religions and spiritualities and scripture that we want, but I prefer Occam's razor. Are you familiar with that? The philosopher Occam, who said, hey, the shortest bit is probably the real bit. Okay, we don't need to have all, it's nice to have the flowery words, and it's nice to have the sentences that take up a whole paragraph. You know, it's nice to do all that. But it's so much nicer, especially in times of need or want, to just cut right to the chase. Right to the chase. The thing itself, that which Ernest Holmes referred to as the essential, eternal essence of ourselves. The eternal essential. When we can connect with that, everything else just falls by the wayside. I think that before we talk about how it works, we should just revisit last week, the week itself, the thing itself, what it is. It's a power, it's a presence. And by definition, presence means not absent. So we say, we are in the presence. We are always in the presence. We are never not in the presence. Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we're in the presence, and it seems like there's something missing. There's nothing missing. It's all about choice, just like Tommy was saying about. It's about choice. We're free to make that choice. We choose love. We choose spirituality. We choose how our world is going to unfold. So, that's the thing itself, right? That's this power, the one power of which all other things are sub-powers, subsets of all other powers. And we have lots of powers, but they all come from that one creative source. They come from that one consciousness. Let's talk science for a minute, because, you know, science is proof positive, right? Proof positive. Yet it's been said, and I think I agree with this, that any scientist who does not have a basis in spirituality really doesn't have a basis for their beliefs and their findings. And the more scientists study the cosmos, the more they agree it kind of acts like a giant consciousness. And of course it does. It has to. Because consciousness is what it comes from. Consciousness is what's creating everything. It's that life principle. So sometimes we want to sense this tension between science and spirituality, but it's a non-existent tension. Science is full of laws, which means it's full of principles. But spirituality is principle, and it has a law too. And this law is not a subset power of that consciousness that grounds all being. It's a facet of it, it's irremovable from it. works in concert with it and works all the time. And it is that we direct, once we understand how it works, to make our world function the way we want it to. So, let's talk about energy. Let's just do science for a minute, okay? If I hold this book up, if I hold it up, now I am holding it up. So I'm holding a book up. If I drop this book, what's going to happen? It's going to the ground. Right now, the only energy displayed here is potential energy. Once I let it go, it becomes kinetic energy. And I don't like using these scientific terms, but that's okay. Turnabout's fair play. A lot of scientists don't like using our spiritual terms either. But the fact is, energy comes in these two forms. It's potential or it's kinetic. It's moving or it's static. It's stationary. And that is how this thing itself works for us. If we are not releasing it, if we're not letting go of what it is that's gripping onto it and keeping us static, it's simply potential energy. When we let it go and we use it and we direct it and we drive it and we allow that force to push it, you know, there's two ways of movement, right? There's pushing, there's pulling. Sometimes we let that energy push us, even though we really don't like the way it seems to be heading. Other times, when we just are at our wits' ends, we just throw up our hands and let it pull us. Either way, we're going to end up in the same place. We're going to end up where we are meant to be, because we're never anywhere other than that. We're never in this life somewhere that we're not meant to be for whatever purpose. Sometimes that's comfortable. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable. Sometimes it looks like tragedy. But when we have the faith, the hope driven by faith, and driven by the belief that all things are possible if we just get ourselves out of the way, we're going to see it unfold in the natural order the way it should. One thing about scientific principles is this: because they're principles, there are no respecters of people. If it's a principle, anybody can use it. All we have to do is learn how. I didn't have to learn how to use the principle of gravity. I probably learned that by mistake somewhere along the line. But in fact, learn it I did. And that's the same with this absolute power, this presence within which we all live and move and have our being. And that allows us to achieve those things that at once, before we understood the spiritual law, before we understood the principle that said, if I plant that seed in this fertile field that we call our subconsciousness, it is going to grow, and it's going to grow exactly how I planted it. I'm not going to plant a tomato plant and get rutabagas. Okay? I'm not going to plant good and get other than good. But on the other hand, if I choose, because I can, if I choose to plant lack, limitation, not enoughness, less than, anything other than that good that is mine by divine birthright, that's what's going to grow. So that's the thing itself. How it works. How it works is really, really, really simple. It works this way. I want something, I just recognize that power that is, that isness, that beingness that we call God, or we call Spirit, or we call Allah, we call Buddha, we call Christ, we call whatever we call it, it doesn't matter, because what's behind it is what's important, and that is that Christ consciousness. Back to that, back to the consciousness. So once I understand that this consciousness is what is, and that I am some part of that, remember, I can't be an apple without an apple tree. I can't be who I am, what I am. I can't be this thing right here. I can't be unless there was a being that I came from. If there's a being that I came from, then I am some part of that. I mean, it's genetically, scientifically sound, isn't it? So if I came from it, I know that I have all the qualities, and sometimes we think, yeah, well, you got all the qualities, but they're kind of in lesser degree. I don't have the qualities in lesser degree. I have the qualities in their total completeness. I have it, absolutely, I have it all. Problem is, we don't often realize that. We don't often recognize that. We think we are limited, therefore we are. That's kind of a take on that old Cartesian thing. I think, therefore I am. I think I'm limited. I am. It can't work any other way. But if I think, can do, guess what? It's going to happen for me. Because I have that power. It's harnessed. It's like the potential energy. I have to turn it into kinetic energy. I have to turn it into movement. I have to know my place. I have to operate. I have to be the owner-operator of that spiritual law that is part and parcel of who I am. So Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind book, chapter 2, The Way It Works, said this: man's intelligence is the universal mind, meaning the absolute, meaning that life principle, meaning that power that is, has always been, was not created by anything, that is the power that is, and from which all things, including this universe, came. But it is that universal mind functioning at the level of man's concept of it. And he says this is the essence of the whole teaching. It functions at our level of acceptance, of realization, of understanding. If we want to fight it, we can. We got choice. On the other hand, why would we? If I am told that I have this power, why would I say, well, thank you, no. It's a great concept. Don't need it. Take care of myself. He also said, the life which we live is the universal life expressing through us. How else could it be? There's only one life. It's expressing through us. But the part I like is he says, the Spirit can make no gift that we do not accept. Back to potential and kinetic. If I go to the mall and I buy a gift, and then I go home and I put it up in a hallway closet, and I forget it's there, it's not a gift. It has the potential of being a gift, but it's not a gift. It's kind of like a baseball. When it's in my duffel bag, it has the potential of becoming a ball game. But until I pull it out of there and throw it out in the field, it's still just that, potential. So until we use our potential, we're not going to access the gift until we understand that it's there, and we accept it, and we put it in play. We put it in use. So all the power that there is, impinging on us from every direction, from every angle, all the time, constantly, isn't going to get used. It's kind of like the wind blowing. If we want fresh air in the house, we're not going to get it till we open the window. We're not going to get it till we access it. It's always there, but we're not getting it. And if we don't get it, it's not going to work for us at all. He also says our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of a principle, this principle, which of itself is without limit. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get our head around this. It's ready to fill everything because it is infinite. So it's not a question of its willingness, nor its ability. It's entirely a question of our own receptivity. So how it works is we have to open to it. Kind of funny. It's almost like paradoxical. It's working all the time. I guess really what we should be saying is how it works for us, not just how it works, because it's always working. If we're thinking lack and limitation, we got lack and limitation. It's just that simple. If we're thinking power, prosperity, affluence, community, hope, love, faith, joy, beauty, that's what we're getting. Sometimes we just don't realize that it's that direct correlation from what we're thinking to what we're getting, because what we're thinking is going into that subjective consciousness, which is totally and completely connected to what we call our subconsciousness. So our conscious mind, that's just our awareness and our use of that absolute power. Our subconscious, there's no filter in there. In our subconscious mind, when it gets put out there, it gets brought back to us. That's just how it is. Jonas Holmes said that all the power in the universe is with you. He said, just feel it, just know it, and just act as if it was. We don't have to act as if it was, because it is. All we have to do is understand it and use it and direct it. So Irvin Seal, a philosopher from like 50s, 60s, 70s, somewhere in there, wrote a lot of essays, but just an excerpt from one tells us this, how it works. Part of me looks outward through the senses and reports danger and hardship. Another part looks inward and says that I am sired by God, and therefore all things good and happy are my destiny. The senses report loss, trouble, a hard winter ahead, and gloomy prospects. But the soul answers, I am. Nothing can be added to me and nothing taken away. I am sufficient at all times and in all places. Since my Father is God, I am not mean or miserable, but I am noble and distinguished and full of promise. And isn't that so true? And yet, sometimes we can choose against that. It's volition. It's an amazing thing. Sometimes we choose to leave it sit in the duffel bag on the shelf and close the window. We don't allow it in. But other times we do, and when we do, we're just amazed at how well it works. And it works well every time. It's a principle. It's not something that happens once in a while. It's not random. It's not, oh, by the way. It's a principle. I drop the book, it's going to fall. I put my word into that supreme spiritual law, it's going to manifest directly in the manner that I put it in there. If I plant a carrot, I'm going to grow a carrot. One more little bit of wisdom. There's something in each of us that wants to enjoy a good wrong. And if it is indulged, we can easily fall into the habit of being a grievance collector. Such people collect grievances not only against other people, but against life itself, against God and the universe. We can collect those grievances, or we can say, whoa, wait a minute, where did you come from? And hit the road. You get back there. He also says this, religion, or we could say spirituality, religion does not fail. It is people who fail. All religions teach the golden rule, and this rule has never failed. But a person, while he assents to the golden rule with his mind, may not be tied to it in his feelings. Fear may move a person more than faith, in which case that person now has a religion of fear. A religion of fear. You know, it's like Charles Fillmore said, at all times within every person there's a church service going on. Yeah, some of us sleep through it. Some of us sit right on the edge of our seat and want to garner something for ourselves from it. The one thing about the spiritual law, which is the same about scientific laws, is laws don't deal in addition. Spirituality doesn't deal in addition. There's nothing we have to add to ourselves. If we're going to be mathematical about it, the only thing we need to involve is subtraction. What we have to subtract is our limited thinking. We have to subtract our concept of not enoughness, our concept of other than. We have to understand that this power, this presence is a unity. It is one. And everything within it is exactly the same as everything else. Now we individualize that, but there is no more or less power, divinity, spirituality available, or ability to access this power in one person than in another. So it doesn't matter that maybe we look a little bit different, maybe we speak a different language, maybe we dress differently, maybe we eat different foods. It doesn't matter. Everybody in this regard, with divinity and the ability to understand how the spiritual law works, is exactly equal. The only thing that makes it seem a little bit unequal once in a while is we lose sight of the fact that we can do that. And by thinking somebody else can't do that, that's the same thing. It's the same thing. We're missing the point. We're losing the power. We're not getting it full strength until we understand that we are, quote unquote, the Son of God. We, the human race, and all the rest of creation are that Son of God. We are God expressing on this planet, on this plane of existence. So last week I had this quote from the Golden Key from Emmett Fox, and this is everybody should research this and get it, should read it, because it's only like 2 or 3 pages, but it carries the entirety of this philosophy within it. But for this week, I want to take this out of it. He says, God is omnipotent, and we are God's image and likeness, and have dominion over all things. Sadly, sometimes we have misinterpreted dominion to be synonymous with dominance. Dominion is not dominance. Dominance comes from a need for asserting power, comes from a need for being better than, that comes from a place of there are things that are less than or not enough. That's not dominion. Dominion is the ability to direct the flow of life, not to beat it down, not to falsely lift ourselves or somebody up above it, see? This is the inspired teaching, and it is intended to be taken literally at its face value. At its face value. There's not some obscure hidden meaning here. There's not something esoteric about it. It's as plain as the nose on my face. That's plain. Okay? We're made in the image and likeness of, meaning not physically, but meaning the essence of who we are comes exactly from that divine consciousness. And then the ability to draw on this power is not the special prerogative of the mystic or the saint, which we sometimes think it is, or by licensed science of mind practitioners or ministers. Sometimes we think that. It's the prerogative of everybody. This is available to everybody. Everybody has that ability, and this is why 2 weeks from now we're going to have that workshop about spiritual mind treatment, because I think that everybody should be able to get right down to the nuts and bolts of this and not only talk about it and think about it and theorize about it, but do it. Do it. There's no value in spirituality if we don't use it. There's no value in knowing anything about ourselves. For me to say I'm made in the image and likeness of God is great. Did it do anything for me? Not a thing. But for me to live that image and likeness, for me to spend my every breath knowing that I'm the image and likeness, and knowing that this essential consciousness, this isness, this beingness that has created me is available to me to use to the greatest lengths of my understanding of it, that opens a whole new door. That gives me a whole new window on the world. That lets me suffer through something, through a condition on this earth that is way less than desirable, way less than just uncomfortable. But I can suffer through it knowing that this too has its purpose for me. Nothing's ever going to happen to me that is not designed to carry within it a lesson that for whatever reason I need. And when I stop grievance collecting, when I stop with the, oh poor me, somebody kicked my dog, oh my God, how did this happen? How am I ever going to get over this? When I get past that and can say and mean, thank you, God, for this miserable experience. Thank you for giving me this lesson. Thank you for allowing me to understand that there's a purpose here for me. And I'm going to sort it out, and I'm going to use it to allow me to work the spiritual law in the manner that it was meant to be. Then I have the full freedom to be my divine self and understand my place and understand how this thing itself that we call God works. So let's just know this together. Let's just know that there is a power, there is a presence that is absolutely not describable. It's not fully understandable. It can only be accepted for what it is. It only can be realized that part of us is some part, all of us is some part of that. Yet it is available to us at our level of understanding. And the more we practice this principle, the more we allow ourselves to be open and receptive to it, the more good it will do for us. By simply understanding that this consciousness that grounds all being is limitless, is infinite and eternal. Consequently, because I'm made in the image and likeness of that, I am infinite and eternal also. So although this shell that I house my soul in this moment is going to one day not be here, that essence that is me, that divine essence, that soul that incorporates this body will go on forever. And knowing that as I understand this and allow myself to work this into my daily routine in this guise as a person, the more that's available to me, the better understanding I have of that spiritual law, the better I am allowed to demonstrate that good that is mine by divine birthright. The more I think those good, pure thoughts into that subjective field, the more it outpictures into my life. The more it populates my world with those things that I not only hope for, but I have dominion over and I can bring into my life simply by aligning myself, by being in that flow of consciousness, by recognizing my oneness with God and my oneness with all others. I cannot have one oneness without having all oneness. So it's just knowing that I am this image and likeness of God, and everything I'm going to ever encounter is likewise an equal image and likeness of God. I just say thank you, God, for this. Thank you for this opportunity to live in community, this opportunity to share love and joy and beauty and community with all other aspects of this planet. It's just with grateful heart I let this word go into the law, knowing that it is so, knowing that I am one with it, knowing that each of us is simply an expression, an individualized expression of this same oneness, this same consciousness, this same thing we call God. I just let this word go knowing that it is so. And together we say, so it is. This is our time to shine our light, to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are grateful. Thank you for your continued financial support as well as emotional and loving, heartfelt support, because it's that financial support that keeps us going. And for those who are not in attendance, but watch this on video and continue to hit that donate button on the website and send in their tithes, thank you. So let's just know that we bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they are given from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plane. We send them forth to do their good work in this community and in the world at large, with no strings and no conditions, and so it is.
So I came to the fork of the river, and I didn't know which way to go. Have no map, no compass, no driver, precious little information to show. It can be hard in this life to make decisions, and it's an altogether common thing to fail. But as I surveyed my current situation, I decided to just go ahead and say, there is no one way, no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. Just wake up each day, do the best I can when I hear the music dance. I confess I get confused quite often, and sometimes may not always get it right. Think that life's about just facing fears and triumphs, so I point my little boat toward the light. There is no one way, no foolproof plan, no faithful final chance. Wake up each I can when I hear the music dance. So whenever you're facing, just remember this: it's control that you're craving, let it be. Just take a long deep breath and surrender it. You'll be alright, you'll see. There is no one way, no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. Just wake up each day, do the best I can when I hear the music dance. There is no one way, no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. I wake up each day, do the best I can when I hear the music dance. There is no one way, no foolproof plan, no fateful final chance. Just wake up each day, do the best you can when you hear the music dance. And when you hear the music dance. So when I hear the music dance.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
It's the thing itself.
It's the thing itself.
I know how it works.
I know how it works.
I'm going to put it to work.
I'm going to put it to work.
I channel that divine energy
I channel that divine
and I
energy.
radiate it forth
And I radiate it forward
to the world.
to the world.
Thank you, God, in me.
Thank you, God, in me.